The battle over Governor J.B. Pritzker's emergency orders continues. The Illinois Republican Party and 3 local GOP committees are now suing over their right to assemble. Lawyers argue religious groups and protesters have been exempt from the governor's rule that in-person meetings must be kept under 10 people. They're also asking a federal judge to rule on the governor's ability to issue multiple disaster declarations throughout the pandemic.
And Tim Schneider is the chairman of the Illinois Republican Party. He's joining us this morning to talk about all of this. Happy Father's Day to you, Mr. Chairman. And before we get into specifics, let me ask you, Illinois is among the most successful states in addressing the COVID-19 pandemic in terms of flattening the curve, lowering the numbers. So the governor and citizens listening to him, they're doing something right. Yes?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that's the case. We're in a bubble in the middle where, which didn't even close most of its state, Iowa, Wisconsin, they're all getting the same numbers that we are here in Illinois. So I wouldn't say we're doing anything different than any of our other Midwestern states right now.
Well, I know, Mr. Chairman, that this is about individuals' freedoms, the right to be able to gather and to hold meetings. But the reality is the virus is still out there. It's still dangerous. Isn't this about protecting other people? Don't we have to balance out an individual's rights versus the rights of everybody?
Well, this is about protecting everybody's rights, and we're not saying, and their health and safety, but we're not saying that they shouldn't wear a mask. We're not saying anybody shouldn't use PPE or hand sanitizers or social distance. What we're saying is that we have a First Amendment right to gather, and our governor is picking and choosing winners and losers, and he himself is traveling outside of the state. His family went to Florida, to their equestrian mansion in Florida. They're traveling to Wisconsin. He's seen at Lake Geneva. While he's telling us to shelter in place, and also he's going to rallies and protests and joining people, thousands of people in rallies and protests, while he's telling us to shelter in place, stay at home, and we shouldn't travel. The hypocrisy of it and his selectivity of deciding who are the winners and losers is awful.
I know as you try, Mr. Chairman, to get Republican votes, you also want to reach disgruntled Democrats and independents. You said at your state party's meeting that Donald Trump is a man for our times. What is the message of that?
Well, the message to all the people in Illinois and throughout our country is this is a president who stands for securing our borders, stands for protecting our police, not defunding the police, standing with the great, strong, we had a virus back to our shores for twin businesses overseas, and we have to bring them back.
Looked like we froze up there for just a little bit. But while we're talking about President Trump, as we tape this Friday afternoon, he's still planning to hold that big rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It is indoors. If the president wanted to have an event like that here in Illinois, would you be comfortable attending an indoor rally like that?
I certainly would, as long as we practice social distancing to the limits that we possibly can. We had hand sanitizers, we checked people's temperatures, and everyone was wearing a mask. I would, yes.
I'm going to follow up on that for a second, Tim, because the argument in court seems to be that the governor is favoring protest rallies over church or religious services. But I'm thinking the key difference here really is about being inside, outside, the safety of the event. Do you not accept that as a distinction?
Guys, I lost that whole line of questioning. Broke up on me.
Very briefly, the question is, as you go after the governor saying he prefers protests over church services, is it really about being indoors versus outdoors and the safety of the setting?
No, I reject that. I don't believe the president prefers church rallies and things like that over church. He was a member to a Illinois Republican Party had to hold its state convention virtually. We believe that we should have had a right to assemble. We did not, but we held it because of the rules of the state of Illinois right now. We held it virtually.
Okay, and again, sorry about that bad signal. I just wanted to quickly ask you, there's been a lot of talk about rebuilding the Republican Party after Bruce Rauner, who of course subsidized the party. Just quickly, with about 30 seconds, where are you with that work to rebuild the Illinois GOP?
Well, the first thing we had to do was unite the party. After the Jeannie Ives and Governor Rauner, it divided the party with HB 40 and the Trust Act. And I think there was miscommunication or misnotions of what those two things were. But we have rebuilt the party. We've united the party. We're beginning to fundraise again. I think we're doing a good job bringing things together.
All right, Illinois GOP Chairman Tim Schneider, sorry about that bad internet signal, but we heard you, so thank you for your time.
We'll take one more break and we're coming back.